You are listening to It's Midnight Somewhere with DJs Mistress McCutcheon and The Wasteland.
It's midnight somewhere. It's midnight. It's midnight somewhere. It's midnight.
Hi, this is Mistress McCutcheon, and of course, I am accompanied by my DJ partner in crime, The Wasteland.
Hello.
And we actually have a lot of stuff going on right now. Life has been kind of nuts. I've just come off of not just a Prophecy Psalms edition, but this past weekend was the Goths for Sanctuaries event. And it's been an ongoing event for the past 3-4 days at this point, and it's going up until just before you hear this podcast. That's happening. And then I'm also really excited because Interference Radio has invited us on October 30th for a very special event. And this coming week, October 2nd, it's a First Friday, and Prophecy will be on at twitch.tv/prophecy_online.
And we have some special shenanigans going for you guys where we are going to basically be swapping places and outfits and doing our best impression of each other as DJs and people behind the deck, including fashion choices.
Fashion choices and genres, indeed. So I'll be spinning an all electro industrial set while The Wasteland has his way with spinning a very goth set. So it's going to be interesting. You should follow us on the Twitch channel, and you can get all the details on that. So it's been busy.
Yeah, it's been a busy time.
I'm noticing how your voice went up, and that just emphasizes how much crazy is going on.
It really does. Yeah, you know, it's been a crazy couple of weeks. Not in a bad way, mostly. But hey, we're just going to keep on trucking and talk about music, and we want to keep bringing you all sorts of musical delights. And this week's episode, we are talking about the songs that shaped us, which that title is very much in the theme of the series that are on Netflix like right now, because there's the toys that shaped us and the video games that shaped us. And if you haven't checked out those particular series, they're great docuseries on Netflix and a lot of fun. And it's a nice trip down nostalgia way. So actually, would you like to go first and talk about what qualifies as one of your formative songs and a song that shaped you? Sure. And I already know, I can already hear you groaning, because I'm going to go with, because I have to, back to the late 90s, and I'm going to go with a V&V Nation song. Because at the time I was listening to a lot of like more mainstream electronic music, a lot of deep house, a lot of trance and stuff like that. And V&V Nation came along and was doing kind of the same things and the same key progressions, but they had vocals to it. So if it weren't for them and their early stuff, I would probably not be here today. I would probably not have kept going to clubs in that genre. And I don't know that we'd hang out. So as much as I know you're groaning in your brain, because I know how you feel about the band, I'm very much gonna pick one of their older songs, and there were a handful at the time, because that was right around the time Empires came out, which I forget what year that was, 97 or 98, I think. Anyway, there was a whole slew of their songs that were being played almost every weekend, wherever you went. So one DJ would sometimes play two of them back to back if the floor packed in enough. So I was like, all right, I thought a rule, you're not supposed to do that, but whatever, it works. There aren't really any rules to this thing, but I think to pick one of the songs that were played locally by me, and not one of the ones that were played to death
because everybody knows like Standing was played all the time, and for us where I was, Joy was played all the time, and I do like those songs. I would like to pick and call out the vocal version of the song Savior, because it's kind of a B-side. It's a little bit of a deeper cut, but like whenever that one came on, that was always the one that got my attention.
The stars make it, I know I'll find you staring at the sky, pointlessly reaching for some light you hope to guide your sorry way. Your body bleeding, your body burned, your body scarred. Around the center of your heart, a god of love, a god of care, a god of hope, a god of words, a god as lost as you and blind, to fill your whole soul again. You seek a god that stands above you, wrapping healing arms around you. You'll find another god of pain, a god of suffering and tears. Give yourself unto your God, sacrifice yourself again. Burn your thoughts, raise your will to gods of suffering and tears. Die hallowed bonds around your hands, kneel before this seat of shame. To gods as lost, gods as blind, gods of suffering and pain. A god of love, a god of care, a god of hope, a god of words, a god as lost as you and blind, to fill your whole soul again. You seek a god who stands above you, wrapping healing arms around you. You'll find another god of pain, a god of suffering and tears. A god of love, a god of care, a god of hope, a god of words, a god as lost as you and blind, to fill your whole soul again. You seek a god that stands above you, wrapping healing arms around you. You'll find another god of pain, a god of suffering and tears. Give yourself unto your God, sacrifice yourself again. Burn your thoughts, raise your will to gods of suffering and tears. Die hallowed bonds around your hands, kneel before this seat of shame. To gods as lost, gods as blind, gods of suffering and pain. A god of love, a god of care, a god of hope, a god of words, a god as lost as you yourself again. Burn your bonds to raise your will. To gods of suffering and tears, tie hallowed bonds around your hands. Kneel before this seat of shame. To gods as lost, gods as blind, gods of suffering and pain. To gods as lost, gods as blind, gods of suffering and pain. To gods as lost, gods as blind, gods of suffering and pain.
I do have a confession. I actually do own a copy of Empires. And the only reason I do is because as a DJ, I felt it was something I probably needed in my collection. But then I realized I didn't really like it. So it's not my thing. It's not for me. And if folks come up and request V&V Nation, I will probably make a face and just say no, because I'm like, no, this is not what I play. And I only play stuff that I like. And that's just the way it's going to go. It's because you're right. There are no rules, but you make your own rules. And as a DJ, I'm not going to play stuff I don't like. And sometimes there's just stuff that's not for me, and that's fine. But I do actually own that.
No, that's entirely fair. I mean, you know how I feel about requests. And for those who don't know, my laptop has a pair of stickers front and center. The top one says, sorry, no requests. And directly underneath that, there's one that says, P.S. Odin thinks you're a douchebag.
Oh, the P.S. Odin thinks you're a douchebag's a good one. A very lovely lady named Tempest was designing sigils, and that particular one is a sigil to ward off Nazis, which I'm like, yep, we'll take that, because there's never a bad time to punch a Nazi. And we're going to take that side, because seriously, if you're not, then we have problems. And it's that simple, because the world is in a fucked up place right now, and there is shit coming out of the news that's terrifying. But you know what? I'm not going to start getting into that, because I will go on an epic tear. We're here to talk about music.
Yes. We're here to talk about music. So what's your first pick? What's your first song that shaped you?
One of the songs that's definitely part of my formative listening experience in this genre has to be The Cure, which is my all-time favorite band. And I was exposed to it as a wee child. I really became aware that The Cure was a band in the era when Kiss Me, Kiss Me, Kiss Me had been newly released, and we were anticipating the release of Disintegration. So just to point where that falls in music history, Kiss Me, Kiss Me, Kiss Me came out in 1986, and Disintegration was released in 1989. So that was my first exposure to The Cure, but the first cassette that I bought from The Cure was actually called Japanese Whispers. And it's not actually an album, but it's a compilation that contains the singles Let's Go to Bed, The Walk, and Love Cats, which were like big, very well-known singles from The Cure. But in a time before...
Yeah, that's a good little cassette.
Yes. It's a good collection with those tracks on it, and then additional things that were B-sides and extras, because there's always great extra secret coveted things that you can find, because in a time before the internet, we scoured for that stuff. You'd have to find B-sides and go digging through the record store, and you'd have to learn things through other friends. And the track that I was really drawn to on that album, Japanese Whispers, I'll throw it into a set every now and again, and that track is Just One Kiss.
before I went to clubs, there was a couple of songs that would pop out every once in a while. One of the things that I would do in the 90s was a good time for like movie soundtracks, right? You had a lot of movie studios that were trying to recreate things because some movie soundtracks were even better than the films. And this is where I'm going to shit on The Crow a little bit because the soundtrack is better in the movie. And I'm going to lose some goth cred for this because the movie sucks. But I'm not going to pick something from the Crow soundtrack. What I'm going to actually pick something that was on the ever faithful Mortal Kombat soundtrack.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Right. You remember that? There was a friend of mine picked it up because he was like, "Oh, it's got that Mortal Kombat techno song on it." That was awful, but whatever. People liked it, and every once in a while they would play it at the laser tag place by me. But the song that was on there that stood out to me, and was another reason why I ended up hanging out in clubs as much as I did, was from Cubanate, and that's Oxyacetylene. And I think that was probably one of the first songs that got me onto a dance floor for the first time because it's good, stompy industrial that you could move to. And like, I knew that song before I'd ever set foot in the clubs because by the time, I get to the clubs in the late 90s, early aughts, that song had already been a classic and was still filling floors. So, it's probably a little tired now, but I have dropped it into a set once or twice at Prophecy. I don't play it that much because there are people who play it still every Friday night. But, every once in a while I'll be like, I'm going to sneak it in there. So, yeah, it's a great track. I don't know how you feel about it, but
I can definitely confirm it's a dance floor banger. It is guaranteed to have butts on the floor moving, and it is a good track. It really is.
Yeah, and I just thought it was funny. Like a friend of mine picked it up for this stupid Mortal Kombat song, and I was like, but this one's better. So let's drop that in here in case somebody hasn't heard it this year.
I need to know
Okay, the next song I'd like to talk about actually comes from Lycia's first album, Ionia. Ionia came out in 1991 and had a major impact on my ear holes because this is at a time where the zine scene was really strong, and through the 90s zine scene, I discovered a lot of different things because you'd have all sorts of regional zines that were and there was a lot of swapping going on that was kind of reporting what was going on in local scenes and in certain areas, what was coming out of Southern California versus what was coming out of Toronto and Pittsburgh, and zines from New York and Philly and all over the place. And Project Records was promoting their stuff through all sorts of magazines and zines in a really big way, and it was a great way to get into dark ambient and what was also termed dark wave. Although the term dark wave is a debatable term because it has been used to describe a lot of the music that's come out of Project Records, and it's also used to describe bands like Wolfsheim. Because I remember hearing The Sparrow and the Nightingale and being told, oh, that's what dark wave is. So labels mean things. It's a way to help describe what the sound is. And regardless, I was really into Project sound. And Lycia, that first album, had a great impact on me because it was so dark and so dreary and so beautiful. Granada was a track that was included on a lot of different little local compilations, again, through that 90s zine scene. But my choice pick for Ionia is the song called Desert.
Just everything I desire. just want to sing again. Hate, love, hope, greed, lust, fate, loss, need, trust, truth, lies, pain, want, days, time, hate, love, hope, greed, lust,
I think we covered my version of The Cure when we did our Ministry episode, and we talked about that and what Ministry was my version of The Cure. I'm not going to go back into Ministry though, because that, while they shaped me, we don't need to relitigate that, right? We did that band. We've talked about them enough. They don't need more of their music played. So I'm going to go in a different direction. I'm going to go with, something that I remember the first time I heard it, it was something new and different because, Oxyacetylene I heard on a soundtrack, and I just happened into that one. And, V&V Nation I got into because they sounded like other music that was coming out at the time that I liked, just, slightly more aggressive, because believe it or not, back then they were slightly more aggressive than especially they are now. But the aggression in certain things has always stood out to me. And then it would only come on once in a while. And that song was the version of Hellraiser by Suicide Commando. Suicide Commando, I always found, I like some tracks on every album, but I was never like a huge fan. But the guy's been doing the same thing since like 1987. He's been around. So, he's paid his dues and has created a lot of music over the years. And some of it is pretty good, but some of it's not. I don't know. I had my time in agrotech, and I would say Suicide Commando is kind of what got me there. And there's a lot of bands that I found because of Suicide Commando, either doing, remixes for them or whatever. Like he's even remixed, I think, V&V Nation stuff, and they've done him. But the Hellraiser song, because as you know, Laura, I am a bit of a especially 80s horror movie fan.
No, you don't say.
So that was a song that really grabbed me, and they have a version called the Psychopath 2 version that I really like because of the way the drums kick in on it. It's a little bit longer than the original, and definitely longer than the one you would hear in the club, which was actually, I believe, the song that was the V&V Nation remix of Hellraiser. So, but that's what I would like to drop in here, because even though the V&V one is the one that got my attention, when I went out and actually found the album, because as you said, you'd have to go and search, and you were either searching record stores, or if you knew where to go, you could, with the birth of the internet, you could buy a CD and wait for it to come in the mail the old school way, before they just downloaded MP3s to you.
Right.
So I actually bought it, I think, off the Metropolis mail order, and got it that way.
Nice.
So, yeah, real old school. Which is, oddly enough, Metropolis mail order screwed up once. And just to throw in a side note here and a little a jaunt, but that's how I discovered the goth schools, because I didn't know what they were, and I ordered something, and they sent me a copy of Nosferatu, and I was like, what the fuck is this bullshit? these song names look stupid. And they're like, do you want to return it? Well, or you could pay for it and keep it. And then I was like, I opened it and I listened to it. I'm like, this is funny. Yeah, I'm going to keep it. So anyway, here's the Hellraiser version for the Psychopath 2 version from Suicide Commando.
This was kind of a tough episode to deal with because just narrowing down to 3 songs was tricky.
Definitely.
But one of the things that helped me kind of make my list here was what's really stuck out and what's really stuck with me through all this time. And my third pick that I want to bring up actually has to do with a particular instrument. Do you know what an ebow is?
No, not offhand.
It's actually the brand name of a small electronic device that's about the size of your hand that's used with an electric guitar, and it creates continuous vibrations on the strings. So whenever anybody mentions an ebow, I can't not think of Tones on Tail. Tones on Tail's Christian Says was a staple track at the Pyramid in the early 90s on Thursday nights because they'd always do an 80s night on Thursdays, which is kind of funny to think that, yeah, people were doing 80s nights in the early 90s. But that was a song that I would always pick up on and recognize on a dance floor. And it starts off with that riff and that ebow. It's unmistakable. And so anytime there's ever any mention of or any music that involves an ebow, I'm like, Tones on Tail. If you don't know Tones on Tail, you should. It's the project between Bauhaus and Love and Rockets, and the band itself contains Daniel Ash, Kevin Haskins on drums, and Glenn Campling on bass. And Daniel Ash did redo the song Christian Says on his redo album Stripped, but in my opinion, it's the weakest redo on that album. And I'm like, why would you touch the original? The original's so perfect. It is a very perfect song. So let's put that in. Here's Christian Says.
You can't be happy being this way. Christine says he'll never let you go. Christine says he can't let you run free. 'Cause Christine says he needs you so.
And that's it for this episode. Thanks to our producer, Justin Minister, to Robin Bright for our theme music, and to Marion Green for our logo. If you like what you hear, please spread the word. It helps us out a lot. If you want to reach out with the songs that shaped you, drop us an email at itsmidnightsomewherepodcast@gmail.com or comment over on our Facebook page. You can also catch Prophecy on Friday night, October 2nd at 10 p.m. EST to catch our sets. Follow us at twitch.tv/prophecy_online. I hope everyone is doing okay out there. Until next time.
It's midnight somewhere. It's midnight. It's midnight somewhere. It's midnight.
This podcast was almost called Gothquisition.